The first sign that something was wrong wasn't fear, it was math. I was sitting at my desk one Tuesday afternoon, reviewing quarterly expense reports, when I realized I couldn't remember how long I'd been married. Not the exact date, the feeling of it. 4 years, I told myself. 4 years to a man named Andrew Carter, financial consultant, calm voice, clean suits, perfect credit, perfect manners. And for the last 3 months, I had been slowly losing the ability to think. It started with headaches, then dizziness. Then this strange heaviness behind my eyes, like someone had filled my skull with wet sand. Doctors said stress, hormones, early burnout. I was 36 years old and being told to take vitamins and slow down. But that afternoon, staring at numbers I'd analyzed 1,000 times before, I realized I couldn't add 12 and 9 without counting on my fingers. That scared me more than any diagnosis. That night, Andrew made me dinner like always: chicken, rice, a glass of red wine he'd already poured before I came into the kitchen. "You look pale," he said gently. His hand brushed my shoulders, soft, caring, familiar. "You've been working too hard again." I smiled. I always smiled. That's what wives do when their husbands worry. The wine tasted bitter. I assumed it was cheap. By the end of the week, I fainted in the parking lot at work. That finally earned me a real hospital admission. They kept me overnight, ran blood tests, scans, neurological exams. Everything is normal except one thing. A young resident came into my room at 2 in the morning, with a tablet in his hands and a crease in his forehead that hadn't been there earlier. He asked me quietly, "Does anyone prepare your food regularly?" I laughed. "My husband does, he loves cooking." He nodded slowly. "Does he pour your drinks too?" That was the first time fear entered the room. By sunrise, my attending physician asked Andrew to step out for privacy. When the door closed, she pulled her chair close to my bed and lowered her voice. "There are trace levels of ethylene glycol in your blood," she said. I stared at her. "Antifreeze?" I whispered. "Very small amounts," she said. "Not lethal, not fast, but consistent." Over weeks, my mouth went dry. She didn't say the word poisoning. She didn't have to. Someone was feeding me just enough toxin to make me sick, but not enough to kill me quickly. Which meant this wasn't an accident, this was management. She told me to go home, act normal, say nothing, and call the police from a phone my husband didn't have access to. When Andrew came back into the room, his face was soft with concern. "They didn't find anything serious," I said carefully. "Just exhaustion." He smiled in relief and kissed my forehead. "Good." I was so worried. That night, lying beside him in the dark, listening to his breathing, I realized something else. 3 months ago, exactly when my symptoms began, Andrew had insisted we update our finances. New joint accounts, new beneficiaries, new life insurance policies. "Just planning responsibly," he'd said. I had signed everything without reading, because I trusted my husband. The next morning, while Andrew showered, I opened our filing cabinet. I didn't know what I was looking for, I just knew my hands were shaking. It took 6 minutes to find the folder. Life insurance, primary beneficiary. Andrew Carter policy value, $1,200,000 effective date, 3 months ago. The same month I started getting sick. I sat on the floor and did the math. And that's when I understood. My husband wasn't trying to kill me, he was trying to schedule me. For 2 days after finding the policy, I did nothing. That wasn't fear, that was strategy. If Andrew was poisoning me slowly, then changing my behavior suddenly could get me killed faster. So I smiled. I drank the wine, I thanked him for dinner. And every time my glass left my lips, I poured the rest into the sink when he wasn't looking. My symptoms began to improve within 48 hours. That terrified me more than the diagnosis. Because now I had proof, but proof wasn't enough. Not against a man who planned things. I needed to understand how long this had been in motion. I started with our finances. Andrew handled everything: investments, taxes, insurance, retirement. I had trusted him completely. That trust had bought him time. At 3 in the morning, while he slept beside me, I logged into accounts I hadn't opened in years. And that's when I found the second policy. Not on me, on himself, $2 million. But I wasn't the beneficiary. A woman named Claire Benton was. I had never heard that name in my life. I stared at the screen until my vision blurred. At breakfast, Andrew casually mentioned that he had a late client dinner. Same sentence he'd used twice last week. This time I followed him. I waited 10 minutes, then drove behind his car through downtown traffic until he parked outside a small Italian restaurant I'd never seen before. Through the front window, I watched him meet her. Claire was younger than me, elegant, expensive coat, nervous hands. They didn't kiss. They didn't need to. This wasn't passion. This was a partnership. I watched them lean over paperwork on the table. Not menus, documents. My stomach turned cold. On the drive home, my phone vibrated. A text from Andrew, running late. Don't wait up. I didn't reply. Instead, I went into his office. And I found the poison, hidden inside a vitamin bottle in the back of a drawer, clear liquid, no label. That night I slept with one eye open. The next morning, I met with Detective Harris from Financial Crimes. He didn't interrupt once as I laid everything out: poison levels, insurance timing, secret beneficiary. When I finished, he leaned back and said quietly, "This isn't attempted murder. This is staged death for profit." We moved carefully, blood samples sent to private labs, the liquid tested. Account records subpoenaed, and then Claire broke. Detectives brought her in first. She lasted 20 minutes. She told them everything. Andrew met her at an investment seminar a year earlier. Told her his marriage was failing, that I was emotionally unstable, that I was sick already. He convinced her to sign the policy to protect their future. He told her my illness would resolve itself soon. Claire thought that meant divorce. She didn't know it meant death. She also gave detectives the missing piece. Andrew hadn't started with poison. He started with paperwork. 8 months before my first headache, he created a shell consulting firm in my name. Then he quietly moved money into it. Then he listed me as the firm's sole owner, which meant when I died, my assets wouldn't go to my family. They'd go to my business, which he controlled. The man hadn't planned my murder. He'd planned my estate. Detective Harris looked at me and said, "Your husband didn't want a grieving period. He wanted a clean transfer." They arrested Andrew 2 mornings later. He didn't resist, didn't cry. Didn't deny it, just asked calmly, "Did the policy activate yet?" That's when the detectives knew. This wasn't rage, this was accounting. Andrew's trial began 6 months later. By then, my hair had grown back. My hands were steady again, and my mind was finally mine. The prosecution didn't start with poison, they started with spreadsheets. That was the mistake Andrew never anticipated. They showed the jury how he created shell companies, how he shifted money in perfect monthly intervals, how every transfer matched the timeline of my symptoms. Then they introduced the policies. Mine, his, Claire S., 3 people, 3 payouts, 1 beneficiary pattern. When the toxicologist testified, the courtroom went silent. Low-dose ethylene glycol, she said, administered daily, mixed into wine. Carefully measured. Why not a lethal dose? The prosecutor asked. Because sudden death triggers autopsies, she replied. Slow organ failure looks natural. Then they played the recordings. Andrew's voice, calm and precise, telling Claire, "By the time she collapses, everything will already belong to us." That sentence ended him. When it was my turn to testify, I didn't cry. I didn't dramatize. I simply told them about signing papers without reading, about trusting the man who cooked my dinners, about waking every morning unsure if I'd survive the day. When I finished, I looked directly at Andrew. For the first time since his arrest, he looked away. The verdict came back in 3 hours, guilty on all counts, attempted first-degree murder, insurance fraud, financial exploitation. The judge sentenced him to 25 years without parole for 15. No drama, no speeches. Just a quiet man led away in cuffs, his business plan finally closed. Claire took a plea deal, probation, testimony, a lifetime of shame. I didn't attend her sentencing. She was never my enemy. She was just another line item in his strategy. The civil case came next, and this is where the real revenge happened. Every asset Andrew owned was seized. Every account is frozen. Every shell company was dismantled. I didn't take the money. I donated half to domestic abuse shelters. The other half paid for therapy, relocation, and a small house near the ocean. A place where no one knew my name. Sometimes people ask if I still feel angry. The truth is, anger requires energy, and Andrew doesn't deserve any more of mine. I live quietly now. I cook my own meals. I sign my own papers. I read every line. At night, when the ocean is loud and the world feels far away, I sometimes remember the woman I used to be. The woman who thought love meant trust without questions. I don't blame her. Predators don't hunt the weak, they hunt the trusting, and that's the lesson I leave with you. Not every danger arrives with violence. Some arrive with contracts. Some arrive with wine. Some arrive wearing wedding rings. My husband didn't plan my murder, he planned my transfer. And he forgot one thing: accounts can be audited, plans can be exposed. And sometimes, the woman you're trying to erase is the one who knows how to read the numbers. Predators don't always wear masks. Sometimes they wear wedding rings.